Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The beach house was quiet, but for the gentle crash of waves outside the open windows and the creak of the old wooden floor as Steffy Forrester paced in circles. Her phone lay face down on the coffee table, the screen still blazing with the last text she'd read a dozen times. I need to speak with you about Beth. Today. Please. Hope. Steffy's stomach twisted, as it usually did when Hope's name was mentioned. Years of bitterness, remorse, love, and grief were so intricately woven inside her that she couldn't tell which strand hurt the most. She had promised herself she would stop allowing Hope Logan to lure her into emotional whirlwinds, but here she was, hands sweaty, heart thumping against her ribcage, as if it wanted to escape. The doorbell rang once, softly yet persistently. Steffy closed her eyes, breathed in the salt air, and moved to the door. Hope stood on the entrance, holding Luna's hand. Luna, now 8 years old, clutched a small pink bag and looked up at Steffy with those huge blue eyes that were clearly Liam's and Beth's. Steffy felt a familiar stab beneath her sternum. She hadn't seen the girl up close in months, not since the last awkward birthday celebration where everyone pretended nothing had happened. "Hi," Hope murmured gently. Her voice was harsh, as if she'd been sobbing, shouting, or both. "Can we come inside?" Steffy stepped aside silently. Luna let go of Hope's hand and walked to the sliding glass doors, pushing her face against the glass to view the water. Hope lingered in the entryway, arms wrapped about herself, as if she might fly apart. "You said it was about Beth," Steffy remarked, her tone remaining cold. Hope shook her head. "Beth is with Liam and Kelly this weekend." "No." She looked at Luna and then back to Steffy, her eyes watering. "It refers to the night she was born. About everything that happened after." Steffy's pulse quickened. She had spent years creating a wall around that night, brick by brick, with denial, therapy, and sheer willpower. "Hope, if this is another round of 'you stole my baby, I can't,' it's not," Hope interrupted, her voice shaking. "It is the contrary. Steffy, please. Just listen." Luna turned away from the window. "Mommy, can I go play in the sand?" Hope hesitated before nodding. "Stay wherever I can see you, okay?" Luna scampered out the open slider and down the stairs to the private beach. Hope waited until the tiny child was kneeling in the damp sand before facing Steffy again. "There's something I've never told anyone," Hope muttered. "Something Beth told me last week. She is now old enough to remember and articulate her experiences. And she asked me why Aunt Steffy cries every time she says her name." Steffy felt the floor shift. "What?" Hope drew a nervous breath. "When Reese lied about my baby's death during the storm, and you adopted her, I was devastated. You are aware of this, but you're not aware that I came here. The following day, I stood outside this house for an hour, looking through the window at you holding her. You were singing for her. You were rocking her as if she were the most precious thing in the world. And I loathed you so badly that I could hardly breathe. But I could see how much you already loved her." Steffy's throat tightened. She remembers the day. She'd felt eyes on her and attributed it to paranoia and despair. "I left," Hope added. "I went to the cliff, the one located above the tip. I waited there till dusk, trying to find out how to continue living after my daughter was gone. And then Luna showed up." Steffy scowled. "Luna?" "She was only 3 years old," Hope said, tears streaming down her cheeks. She had strayed away from Flo and Wyatt, who were minding her while Irised. "She found me, sat right next to me on that rock, and didn't say anything for a long time. Then she leaned over and placed her little palm on my stomach, saying, 'The baby isn't in heaven, Mommy. She's with Aunt Steffy.' I saw her smile." Steffy felt a shiver run down her spine. "Kids say things." "She was 3, Hope interjected. She had no idea what adoption was. But she described Beth perfectly. Yellow hair like Daddy, eyes like me. She claimed she heard you name her Beth. She stated you promised to protect Beth forever." Steffy's legs gave out. She fell to the edge of the couch, her hands quivering in her lap. I thought it was imagination, Hope explained. Wishful thinking seeps into a toddler. So, I buried it. But Beth crawled into bed with me last week after having a nightmare. She stated that she dreamed about the night she was born. She stated she remembers being freezing and then having warm arms. She remembers a voice saying, "I've got you, little one. You're safe now." Steffy was unable to breathe. She said, Hope's voice broke entirely. She said the voice told her, "I'm sorry, Hope. I'm so sorry. I promise you that one day I will return you to your mother." The room blurred. Steffy clamped her hands over her mouth, attempting to keep the cry from escaping her chest. "I didn't know what to think," Hope continued, until Luna overheard our conversation the next morning. She went in, climbed atop the counter like it was nothing, and said, "Told you, Mommy." Aunt Steffy promised. She always keeps her promises. Steffy's shoulders began to shake. She could not stop them. Hope crossed the room in 3 strides before dropping to her knees in front of her. "Steffy, look at me." She couldn't. The tears were coming too quickly. "You didn't steal her," Hope insisted vehemently. "You saved her. You loved her while I couldn't. You kept her alive in your heart until I was strong enough to accept her back. Somehow you knew, especially when no one else did. You knew she was mine." Steffy sobbed, primal and guttural, years of remorse, anguish, and love spilling at once. Hope put her arms around her, drawing her down until they were both on the floor, clinging together like survivors of the same shipwreck washed ashore. "I'm sorry," Steffy said, gasping against Hope's shoulder. "I am sorry I kept her from you. I'm sorry I believed she was mine. I'm sorry I didn't fight harder to discover the truth." "Stop." Hope drew back just enough to cup Steffy's tear-stained cheek. "You have nothing to apologize for. Nothing. You gave her a mother when I had nothing else to give. You gave me my daughter back, even if it took longer than expected. You maintained your word." Steffy's face crumpled again. "I loved her so much it physically hurt to give her back." "I know," Hope exclaimed. "She loves you just as much. She always asks about you. She wants to know when Aunt Steffy will come and read her the princess books again." Luna's voice floated up on the breeze from the shore. "Mommy, Aunt Steffy, come see the sandcastle." They gazed at one another, red eyes, wet cheeks, decades of conflict now over, and laughed through the tears, the sound frail but genuine. Steffy wipes her face with the back of her palm. "I owe you a lifetime of apologies, Hope." Hope shook her head. "You owe me nothing. But if you want to make it up to me..." She looked toward the beach where Luna was waving her arms like a windmill. "Come, make a sandcastle with your niece. She's been waiting years for this." Steffy stood on wobbly legs. Hope took her hand, linking their fingers together in a way they hadn't done since they were little girls fantasizing about horses and wedding dresses. As they went out onto the slider into the late afternoon sun, Luna rushed forward and grasped Steffy's other hand without hesitation. "I knew you'd come," Luna remarked simply, pulling them both toward the lopsided castle already adorned with seaweed flags. "You promised." Steffy stared down at the young girl who had seen truth when no adult could, then turned to Hope, whose eyes were filled with the same startled appreciation Steffy felt in her bones. "Yeah," Steffy said, her voice hoarse. "I did." And for the first time in years, the 3 of them, mother, daughter, and the lady who had loved them both enough to break her own heart, knelt together in the sand, creating something that would not be washed away by the tide. Behind them, the beach house remained quiet, but lighter, as if it, too, had been waiting for this time to exhale. The conflict was over. The afternoon sun streamed gently through the tall windows of the Forrester guest house, capturing dust motes that drifted in warm currents. Hope stood near the doorway, hands clutched tightly in front of her, moving her weight back and forth as she waited for Luna to finish the phone call she had hurriedly walked outside to take. Every breath felt unusually weighty, as if the air itself knew something was about to shift. Beth had just said something that had rattled Hope to her core, and she wasn't sure whether she should believe it, fear it, or be grateful for it. Beth wasn't normally frightened around her mother, But today she entered the studio with timid steps and shaking fingers. She had not even attempted to pretend everything was all right. That alone was enough for Hope to suspect that something big had occurred. But what happened next surprised her so much that she remained still for about a minute. When Luna eventually returned inside, Hope turned toward her with an intensity she couldn't suppress. "Thank you for stepping out," Hope replied swiftly. "I needed a moment to gather myself before we talked." Luna nodded, her face warm and open. She had always been terrific at listening. So good, in fact, that Beth trusted her more than she trusted many adults. "Is this about Beth?" Luna inquired. Hope hesitated and then nodded. "She told me something today. I was unprepared for something. And I'm not sure if I should keep it to myself or tell Steffy right now. I'm worried about how it will affect everyone." Luna went closer. "Whatever is going on, we'll figure it out." "What exactly did she say?" Hope opened her mouth, but no words emerged. Only the image of Beth's tear-stained face occupied her mind. She took a hesitant breath before trying again. "She said she made a mistake," Hope murmured. "Not a tiny one. The type a youngster carries like a burden on their chest." Luna scowled as she stated that she needed to confess since she blames herself for the subsequent events. Fault? What does she believe she did? Hope fell to the edge of the sofa, fingers twitching helplessly. She said she told Steffy something long ago. Something she thought was harmless, possibly even beneficial. However, it resulted in an argument. As a result of that argument, additional misunderstandings arose. And those misunderstandings escalated into something neither of us expected. Luna sat alongside her gently. "Children blame themselves for what adults do. It doesn't imply she's genuinely accountable." "I understand," Hope responded. However, she divulged a secret. She believes that one event changed everything. And if it does, I don't know how Steffy will handle it. Outside, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. For a few period, both women listened, immersed in their own difficult thoughts. Meanwhile, Steffy stood alone on the terrace of the cliff house, her arms crossed tightly over her tummy, as if she were keeping herself together with force. The waves below slammed against the rocks with a constant and indifferent cadence. She'd been staring at the ocean for over half an hour, unable to escape the sour knot of worry that had formed inside her since Hope had sent a message requesting to speak. Hope never sounded like that. Breathless, hesitant, almost regretful. And when she mentioned it was about Beth, Steffy's pulse thudded in an unusual, uneasy manner. Beth was one of the kindest kids she knew. Whatever it was, it needed to be serious. Behind her, a sliding door opened. Finn went outside with a towel hanging over his shoulder from his jog. "Have you heard from Hope again?" he asked. Steffy shakes her head. "Just that she is coming over. And it's all about Beth." Finn moved closer. "It's probably nothing too bad." Steffy gave him a look that was half exasperated, half anxious. "You don't ask someone to meet in person if it's nothing too bad. Something's wrong." Finn softly laid his palm on her shoulder. "Whatever it is, we'll get through it." Steffy leaned into him for a moment, allowing the warmth of his comfort to ground her. However, her worry persisted. Instead, it became deeper, slithering around her like a frigid shadow. Back at the guest house, Hope paced the room, while Luna sat calmly, allowing her space. She kept saying, "I'm sorry," Hope muttered, over and over. She was distraught.
"I've never seen her like that."
And she said Steffy did not know the truth. That no one knew. Luna asked quietly. Hope stopped pacing, her back to Luna and shoulders trembling. "Beth overheard something years ago," she explained. "Something she felt Steffy should know. So she informed her. Steffy believed it. And everything that happened afterward, every quarrel, every misunderstanding, could have started with that." Luna's eyes widened. "Do you think this secret affected anything? Adults are complicated. Small comments cannot cause." "This one might have," Hope said quietly. "Because it wasn't simply a comment. It was personal, emotional. And that changed the way Steffy looked at me." Luna didn't say anything straight immediately, but her calm presence felt reassuring. Are you concerned Steffy will blame Beth? Hope swallowed hard. I'm afraid she'll blame all of us. There was a knock at the door. Luna was the first to stand. I'll give you privacy. But Hope grabbed her wrist.
No. Stay.
I might need you. Luna nodded and opened the door. Steffy stood there, tense and alert, with Finn closely following. She looked from Hope to Luna, then back to Hope, attempting to gauge the mood in the room. You said this was about Beth, Steffy explained. Is she all right? Hope's breath trembled. She is physically fine. She is emotional and carrying a huge burden. And she requested me to speak with you. Steffy came inside. What do you want to talk to me about? Hope motioned everyone to sit. Steffy stayed standing. Steffy, Hope began slowly. Before I say anything, please understand that none of this was deliberate. Beth was a youngster. She didn't realize the consequences. Steffy tensed. Hope, what did she do? Hope extended her hands in a weak, imploring gesture. She said something to you a long time ago that she should not have. Something she didn't understand. She believes that moment impacted the course of everything following. What did she say? Steffy demanded. Hope took a slow breath. She told you I didn't want you around me. I couldn't stand being in the same room as you. She claimed I told her that you were the reason our family couldn't be happy. Steffy blinked, surprise and hurt flashing across her face. She told me that when she was little, that you didn't want anything to do with me anymore. She glanced at Hope accusingly. Do you mean she misunderstood you? She overheard me chatting, Hope exclaimed urgently. Talking with Liam. I said that I needed space, time to breathe, and that I was overwhelmed. I never mentioned it was because of you. I never said I did not want you around. She must have pieced together what she overheard and assumed it was true. Steffy opened her mouth, then closed it again, her jaw stiffening. Hope continued. Beth believed she was assisting. She felt she was offering you clarity. She didn't realize she was driving a gap between us. And when she discovered what she had done years later, she was afraid you would despise her. Steffy shook her head slowly, her lashes already damp. I mistook your coldness and distance for anger towards me. I assumed you intended to cut me out. I thought Liam told you something about me that turned you off. Hope swallowed hard. I was not furious with you. I was overwhelmed by everything. Work, family, pressure. I kept putting off explaining because life became increasingly crazy. When Finn tried to talk to Steffy, she was already cautious. He gently touched her back. She did not move. Hope's voice broke. Steffy, I'm sorry. Steffy looked down, tears silently streaming down her cheeks. All these years, she muttered. I assumed you resented me. I assumed you didn't want to say it out loud. So, I drew back to defend myself. And you backed off because you assumed I was finished with you. And it all began with... She paused, placing a palm over her mouth as a sob escaped. Hope got closer, but did not touch her. Beth feels guilty for our distance. She blamed herself when she discovered the misunderstanding. Steffy fiercely shook her head. She is a child. This was not her fault. Hope's tears flowed freely now. She said she saw you cry once. She assumed it was because of her. She told me today, I'm sorry, Mommy. It's my fault you and Steffy aren't friends anymore. Steffy's knees sagged, and she slumped down the edge of the table, burying her face. Finn kneeled next to her, but she waved him away, needing a moment to breathe. Hope stepped aside to give her some space. Luna spoke gently, having been quiet up until now. Steffy, children believe they can fix everything. And when they can't, they think they broke it instead. Steffy wiped her cheeks, but new tears quickly replaced them. I was so hurt, she whispered. Back then, everything seemed raw. I assumed you were weary of me. I assumed you were giving up. So I pulled away to relieve the ache. Hope bowed her head. I wish I had faced it earlier. I wish I hadn't let the distance grow. There was silence for some minutes. The only sound was the quiet hum of the air conditioner. Finally, Steffy looked up at Hope. Her voice quivered. I do not blame Beth. I don't hate anyone. I'm heartbroken. Because we lost years that we did not have to lose. Hope nodded, tears running down her cheeks. We can't change the past, but perhaps we can cure what lies ahead. Steffy looked at her for a long, searching moment. Then she slowly nodded. The tension in the room subsided, not totally, but enough to let Hope Indiana. Beth wants to talk to you, Hope whispered softly. Only when you are ready. She's afraid you'll be angry. Steffy muttered, I could never be upset with her. Tell her to come by tomorrow. I want to see her. Hope breathed shakily, relieved. Finn stood to encourage Steffy, but she rose on her own. Hope, she murmured, her voice still rough but more stable than before. Thank you for telling me. Hope wiped her eyes. Thank you for listening. As Steffy turned toward the door, she halted and returned a delicate half-smile. Maybe this is the start of something better. Hope nodded. I believe so. As Steffy stepped outdoors, the sun burst through the clouds, casting warm light across the room, like a calm promise of healing that was finally beginning.